It's an enormous e-ink tablet with lots of cool features. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm having fun with this. This is the Onyx Boox Max 3. It is a 13.3-inch tablet, but with a very big difference. It's running e-ink screen technology. So this is the same screen technology they use in the Kindle. And it's very interesting because it only takes energy when you change screens. So here I have my drawing. If I push the button, it's now generating power, or using power I should say, because it's actually going to different places in the operating system. As you can see, it also has a touch screen interface. So the screen itself is an e-ink Mobius 13.3-inch touchscreen at 1650 by 2200 pixels, which is 207 pixels per inch. So it's not high density. Much more importantly, it's not color. So this is not a color tablet. But the whole point of the e-ink is that it uses extraordinarily little power. So I'm only using power when it's actually changing what's on the screen. So when it's sitting like this, it can sit like this for literally weeks and zero power has been consumed, which gives it this ridiculous actual battery lifetime. So it has a 4200 milliamp hour battery, and that gives you a month of usage. Now, where this really shines is as a consumption device, not with movies, but with text. So I can go to, for example, BBC News, and here's a BBC News article, and I can scroll by simply scrolling, right? And you can see when you're done with that screen, you scroll to the next one. When you're done with that, you scroll to the next one, and so on. And it's a little funky. Obviously, the pictures don't look anywhere near as good as they would on your nice, big, bright color screen, but that's not its purpose. Where this is even more cool is, let me go back to the Amazon Kindle, because this runs Android, so I can run the Kindle app. So this now becomes this wonderful big screen Kindle. And if I want to read a book, all I have to do is have had it downloaded. And look at that. That is a glorious way to read books or any Mobi or EPUB or PDF or HTML document. It even has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so you can actually go online. But to me, this is just absolutely the best use case. This screen is just gorgeous for reading. It's nice and bright and crisp. It's a reflective light as opposed to something that is emitting light. So it's very different in terms of its fatigue with your eyes. You can read this for a long time. That's why the Kindle is so darn popular. Now, what also is interesting is it's actually a dual layer screen. So it's using two sensor systems, and one of them is actually a Wacom touch layer. So Wacom's really well known for doing like tablets that you can use as an artist to work on. This has a processor and it runs okay, but it's really nowhere near fast enough to be actually like an art input. You saw my doodle, but if I was going to do serious art, I don't think this thing can keep up. Having said that, it is an unspecified octa-core CPU running at 2 gigahertz with 4 gig of RAM and 64 gig of storage. Now, they also include this interesting little doohickey, which is USB-C and micro SD. So it's a micro SD card reader, so you could put a micro SD card in here, plug it into the USB-C at the bottom, and then presumably you would have access to more storage. So if that 64 gig isn't enough, this gives you other options. Oh, and look, it's giving me a very attractive illustration. I'm not sure what that's about. There you go, sorry. Lots of reflections. But having said that, actually, this is very non-reflective. I just have a lot of lights pointing at me, so it makes it a worse case. So this actually gives you a little bit of a clue as to the heritage of the device. The Onyx is actually a Russian tech product. And you know that because it is a built-in English-Russian dictionary, which I thought was kind of interesting. Not sure I have a lot of call for that, but it's nice to know that it's built in, right? So I think what that did is I actually turned it off. So there's a power button on the top. So let me give you a little tour. On the top is a power button. There's nothing on either side. There's no volume controls in hardware. And then on the bottom are two plugs. There's USB-C which you use for charging. And obviously you use that for external data and devices. And then there's this sort of micro USB or micro HDMI, I should say. And that's an interesting one. Comes with this cable, which is the micro HDMI. I don't even know what this interface is called. It might be a custom interface. And then the other end is just a regular HDMI. And the intention is that you can use this as a second monitor on your computer, but that's a pretty whack idea because e-ink is a slow refresh screen. And it doesn't make any sense to be sending it data 1/60th of a second or 1/30th of a second. So you can use this hooked up to your computer. I have absolutely no idea what that use case is. I didn't even try it. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I will say with my experimentation that, boy, it eats up batteries super fast. So if you are going to use this as a second monitor, which is one of its capabilities, then number one, you really probably want to just show text on it. So maybe it's a reference document while you're working on your computer. And number two, leave it plugged in or you will be very sad that it will run out of battery super fast. So, also includes this stylus. Disappointingly, no extra tips. So if this tip gets damaged, you have to go back to Onyx and get another one, which apparently is a bit of a chore. It's a fairly straightforward stylus. You could probably use a third-party one just as well. There are no buttons on it. There's nothing special. It doesn't seem to have any proximity. It is literally a push and drag sort of stylus, which is fine. That's, for this purpose. It does have the ability to sense over 2,000 degrees of pressure. So presumably if you do want to try to use this for art, then as long as you can handle the slow screen refresh, then you could actually get a lot of variation and a lot of control over what you're trying to develop. So not much else to tell you. I love this thing. Having this for Kindle books is just spectacular. This is so nice. But I will tell you, I'm going to give you a couple of screenshots, and I'll just hope that they come out pretty well. So it gives you basically Android, and Android gives you the Play Store, but a lot of apps aren't going to work very well. And obviously, you don't want to get anything like a game because it's going to just crush this thing. And if it's refreshing all the time, you're just going to eat up all your battery too. So this is good for maybe things like grabbing a Project Gutenberg document, right? So you can get like Alice in Wonderland off of their resource. So I can go to the library, and then I already have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, which is a free download. And then here you have it, So this is the cover art, which obviously is going to look a lot better on a color screen, but so be it. And then let's see if we can actually get into the book. Project Gutenberg is a free archive of material. Unfortunately, it doesn't generally tend to be very well formatted as text. So let's see if there's more to it than this, hopefully. Well, there's lots of content you can see, and this is just out of the Boox Max 3 library. But if I jump back, then I also get, there's a shop that I can buy some content. It does have speakers, so you could use it for audiobooks or audio narration on a book you're reading. The notes gives me access to create art, and as I showed you, here's one. I know this is a suboptimal angle, but I can do this, and you can see it tracks things, and then it's a typical sketch app, so I can pick different colors, which end up being different shades of gray and different thicknesses, and I can do an erase and save it as different formats and so on and so forth. So that's pretty fun. Are you going to do great art on this? I'm guessing probably not. But then you get into apps, and apps is where it's kind of fun. So apps, you can get a lot of stuff. Things like, I have BBC News, I just showed you that. The New York Times, any newspaper, any magazine, they're all going to look really good on this because it's text, right? This is a great text device. The Kindle app is fantastic. That's by itself. If you have someone who complains their Kindle, screen is too small, something like this would be a fantastic solution. It's so big and so nice, and you can make the text super big, or you can just have a lot of text on the screen, which is really good. This would also obviously be a great reference document for scientists or lawyers or anyone that needs to be constantly referencing other works. that would be very handy. And you can pick up a case for it and all sorts of stuff off of the sort of Amazon ecosystem and off of even the Onyx ecosystem itself. There's various stuff you can buy. And what's interesting is you can buy an external keyboard or mouse, and then they plug in via that USB-C, and you could use those too. So I don't see this as much of a creation or input device. It's much more, to me, a consumption device. And again, for text content, this is fantastic. But if you want to try it out, there's definitely some options you can use. Now, not much else I want to talk about, not much else to talk about, right? So you got that HDMI interface if you want to try that. It comes with this funky micro SD card reader, comes with a USB-C charger, comes with the stylus, and of course comes with the screen, and it does have a screen protector that comes with it, but it doesn't have a case, and it feels pretty solid. I don't feel like this is quite as flimsy as, say, the Sony document or the Sony device that's similar. But I would not carry it just like this. I would definitely buy a case for it or something, or even just put it in a manila folder. So speaking of which, so let's talk about the dimensions of this. So this is 12.2 inches by 9 inches by a 1/4 inch thick, and the whole thing is 17.3 ounces. It is an amazing piece of technology. In a whole lot of ways, it's really just a screen, and it's a really lovely screen. E-ink is a really fascinating technology because it has such low power demands. So if you're doing something that is black on white or white on black or something like that, where it's just crisp and you don't need all sorts of colors and everything, this can be a great technological solution. So this is a really cool device, which means the only thing we need to talk about is the price, because it comes with a pretty hefty price tag. But before we get to the price tag, let me ask if you can subscribe to my channel. I get access to a ton of interesting technology, and I'm very candid about what's good and what's not good, so you should subscribe so we can stay in touch. Awesome. Now, this, let's see, let's get it over to apps. This is the Onyx Boox Max 3, and it is $859. But when I checked, it might be a holiday pricing thing, but it was down to $775 at onyxbooks.com. That's still pretty darn expensive, but oh, if you're used to using a little tiny Kindle screen or something, this is like a whole nother world. This is such a different experience, and if you could figure out how to pay for this thing, it is definitely worth it. And with that, I am actually going to go back to my book, so I will catch you in my next video.